What's up guys, and welcome to this episode of Gearist TV. Today we're going to take a look at the Wave Hitogami from Mizuno Running. So late last year we did take a look at our first ever Mizuno Running shoe review. And we did that with the Mizuno Wave Sayonara. Now, while these shoes do share a definite DNA between this and the Hitogami, there is a bit of difference, but one of the things that we were most excited to see was the way that Mizuno was going to use this new euphoric foam that they've come out. It's lighter, it's more resilient, and now they've got a great platform in the Hitogami. Here we go. As always, the first thing we're going to talk about is the outsole. Now, on the Hitogami, you can look at the outsole and it kind of looks like it's almost some design elements. But what these really are is well-placed flex screws that are on the bottom of the shoe. You can see right here, the first one that extends fully across, and then you can see here through the midsole, right underneath the arch. Now here, kind of through the forefoot area, you can see where they do extend fully across. But what's kind of interesting to me about that is that they don't extend fully through the rubber. So I'm kind of curious as to why that is, because while this is certainly a very flexible shoe, that could have made it a little more flexible just to pull through the rubber right there all the way across and completing these flex screws all the way across. Regardless, this is a really durable X10 rubber which does a great job of keeping the shoe really nice and firmly on the ground. Another thing that I really like about this midsole, as I did with the Sayonara, is that, this outsole, is that it's very flat to the ground. It's got a great full foot feel, so it doesn't leave you with your arch kind of hanging in midair. Another cool thing about the outsole is that it's got a nicely rounded heel, which you could probably see there. That heel combined with this full foot feel right here gives a pretty quick transition from the heel to the forefoot should you be somebody who is a heel striker. Why you're a heel striker, I'm not exactly sure. That's another conversation for another day. So Mizuno's new-ish go-to for the midsole material is that euphoric foam that I mentioned earlier. What it allows for by being springier and being lighter is it allows for lower stack heights, which is basically the height that the shoe is off the ground. As you can see here, it looks really quite low to the ground, and it's got some pretty decent stack heights in that way. Now, with that, they've also got their traditional wave technology, which you can see right here, the wave plate. Now, generally speaking, the wave plate is going to be for someone who's landing more in the rear of the foot, or at least at right under the midfoot. Now, being that I land more midfoot, forefoot, I wasn't fully able to take advantage of the wave plate, but I do kind of force myself to do that here and again just to make sure what's going on so that I can talk to you guys about it. And so I did a couple heel strikes, but they turned out well. This does have quite a bit of cushioning, and you wouldn't think so for a shoe that has such a minimal looking stack height. It did a really great job, and that wave plate, I'd be really curious, again, I think I mentioned this in the Sayonara review, what if that wave plate were tuned a little tighter and maybe moved forward? That might be a really cool addition for a shoe moving into the next generation. Geometrically speaking, I really like the midsole of this shoe also. As you can see here, again, really low to the ground, and it has very little toe spring. That's the upward curve at the front of most every running shoe. It's very little there. Now what this does is when the foot is allowed to be in a very relaxed position within the shoe, that allows the muscles to function as they would naturally. Basically, it's putting your foot like it would be in a very flat level surface, like a barefoot on a flat ground or something like that. So that's allowing the foot to really function. So really great design point there. Now let's talk about the drop, something that a lot of people are concerned with. That's the difference in height from the heel to the forefoot, right about here to here. Now, in this shoe, it's advertised and confirmed by several sources to be 9 millimeters. Now, my personal preference is about 6 millimeters and under. However, I have to say, I was really surprised to see that this was 9 millimeters. I could have sworn that I was standing in a shoe of about 4 millimeters. I've got about 60 miles in the Hitogami right now, and I'm very curious about how the lifespan of this shoe is going to do. Generally speaking, traditional EVA tends to begin to break down, the bubbles inside of it compress to nothing at about 120 miles, around 200K. Now, a lot of companies are coming out with different types of foam, variations on EVA, and this is no different. So I'm very curious to see how euphoric holds up once it passes that 120 or even 200 mile threshold. So I guess I got a lot more running in this thing to do. Now let's talk about the upper. That is one of my favorite things about this shoe, is the upper. Now, it's just a general very lightweight mesh overlaid with design elements, which we're going to talk about here in a second. Pretty cool little things that happen with that. But in general, there's no stitching on this. There's a little stitching right here on this heel logo, and again on this kind of minimal, almost pleather heel bumper, or excuse me, toe bumper up front, which is going to keep clumsy people like some people we know from busting up their toes while they're running in this, given that it's got a very low toe spring. Internally, the upper has a really nice, almost seamless feel, with the exception of a medial and lateral kind of stitch right along the midfoot here, which are very, very soft. There's not a lot going on inside. It's got a comfortable barefoot feel. Now, while I don't personally run barefoot very much, when I did wear this on a very, very short run barefoot, I wasn't irritated by those stitches or by the tongue attachment down here. Speaking of the tongue, nice solid tongue. It's actually pretty thin, and that's great because there's no extra material there that doesn't otherwise need to be there. Now, the laces are an interesting thing to talk about on this upper. The laces, I've read several people talking about it. They tend to come untied. I didn't really experience this because I tend to do a proper sheet knot, I think, but a lot of people did talk about that because they're really cool, this kind of checkerboard design, but they do slip quite a bit. Now, I had them untie once when I was just wearing them casually, but again, I can chalk that up to pants maybe, or whatever else I was doing. But in general, I think that they could go a long way with something like a sausage link lace or something like that, or even a lay flat lace. Additionally, the laces could be shorter. Now, maybe I got a pair where the laces were extraordinarily long or just put into the wrong size. Maybe these are laces for a size 15 or something, but these laces are really long. I mean, you can see here, I've got the shoe fully tied, and these laces kind of go all the way almost down to the toe. So there's a little bit of extra length in laces that doesn't necessarily need to be there. However, if you were to use this back eyelet up here at the top, it could suck up a little bit of that weight, but that's not something that I need, and further, it makes me a little uncomfortable, so I didn't really put that to use. But all in all, really solid. I like the way that the upper feels. It's nice and slick. All these lines, again, which I'm going to tell you about here in a second, they're all heat bonded, and they create for a really slick and lightweight upper construction and support structure. Now, my absolute favorite part of the upper is its kabuki-inspired art. Now, here's what it looks like with the shoes put up side to side, both kind of top to top on the medial side and then again on the lateral side. Now, I'm going to hold this here, and then I'm going to put, let me see if I can hold it here. I'm going to hold it here and put right here some artwork that somebody did of this. You can see kabuki mask inspired. That is freaking cool. So kudos to you guys, Mizuno, on some awesome artwork on the upper of the Hitogami. Now let's talk about fit. The sizing is right on. I had no problems in this size 11. It felt great. Through the heel cup, actually there's not a huge, really rigid heel counter, but there is a heel counter, and it's nicely fit. It fit my foot really well. So I really liked that feel. In the toe box, it's interesting. Here's the Sayonara, and you can see the toe box there. Here's the Hitogami, and you can see that the lateral side over here has been sliced off a little bit. This worked for me really well. This works for me really well, but I like this tiny bit of material. It's probably, less than 1/4 of an inch additional kind of cut on the toe of the Sayonara, and it's been cut off a little bit here. Not something that's a deal breaker for me. I certainly like the shoe a lot, but it is something that I wish they had taken into account. Again, as I mentioned a second ago, the laces are a bit long, but again, if you've got a wide foot, this is going to be something that you may be able to fit into because there's going to be so much play. And through the midfoot, there's plenty of room in the throat for the shoe to cinch down or to loosen up, depending on if you have a low volume or high volume foot. Let's talk about the ride of the Hitogami. Of the Mizuno shoes that I've personally run in and wear tested, this is my favorite. It's a really great shoe, and I think that that's contributed a lot to the low stack height. It gives you a really great ground feel, and this foam, while it may seem as though it would be a bit cushiony and overly cushiony, kind of denting, it's really not. It gives you good ground feel, and because it's got kind of almost a race-like look and fit and build, it gives you that nice close to the ground feel that's actually quite nimble. I should also mention that this shoe is light. This is a size 11, and it comes in at 8.4 ounces. Now, I imagine the general standard is around size 9, which is a lot lighter than this, but 8.4 ounces for a size 11 is pretty solid. Now, they could probably cut a little bit of weight by either trimming back the wave plate on the medial side or stiffening it up or kind of moving it, or I don't know, getting rid of it. But in any event, it's a really nice light shoe that's going to have a great nimble quickness for your run. The price of the Hitogami is fantastic. It comes in under $100 by one penny, $99.99, and that's straight from the manufacturer. This is a really well-priced shoe that puts it well below many of its competitors. I'm very curious to see if that raises the price of the Hitogami over time or if it forces other companies to bring down their prices, because this is a solid shoe and it's really tough to beat at $100. This coming marathon season, this is a shoe that I would expect to see on the feet of a lot of racers, half marathons and 5Ks as well. It's a shoe that's got a lot of great technology that a lot of people are going to be really comfortable in. When you pair it with the Sayonara, this is a shoe where you could easily race in a shoe that's got the same DNA as your training shoe. That Sayonara and this are built really from a very similar mold. So these are going to be two shoes that are going to make a great pairing, and this guy is going to be a quick, nimble race shoe for you. The shoe's got great ground feel, and I really can't wait to see what this could be like if they could get that drop down under 4 millimeters. Pretty awesome stuff from Mizuno. Here's looking to the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Gearist TV. Please don't forget to like and favorite this video, and if you've got any questions or comments, leave it in the comments section below. Don't forget to click over to Gearist.com and take a look around, and on our channel here on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe. There's going to be a button right here in a second to click to subscribe, and we'd love it if you do that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Gearist TV. Please don't forget to click that wonderful blue subscribe button right in front of your face, and also check out those other videos that are there while you're at it. Click on over to Gearist.com, take a look around, and thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.